The message this morning is entitled Prosperity, Abundance, and Wealth, and it will be given by our very own Debbie Hazelton.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Thank you everyone. Thank you for being here and for this wonderful opportunity once again. And gosh, I want to first thank Glenda and Marvin. I know Glenda's not here, but I did tell her that I was going to make a little bit of a joke because Glenda, they were so kind. They offered us their generator, and of course about a few hours later after Marvin did all the work of setting it up, the power came back on. So this is the thing. If he lets you borrow it, chances are your power is going to come right back on. And then Glenda was really trying hard to get us all to take showers. I don't know what that means. But it was just so kind of them. And we did go to their house. Des and I went, and Glenda and I took food out to Dawn and Marjorie. And Glenda, you know, I have to hand it to her. And Glenda is very much like many of us who feel guided to go in a certain direction. And we dare to do that and then share that with anyone who will partake. So Glenda made a wonderful vegetable soup. You know, Glenda eats plant-based. She made a vegetable soup, and it was loaded with vegetables. And she made brownies. Now, Marvin would love to tell you about these brownies, but they were delicious, and she made them with black beans. Now, people who are gluten-free, you can use black beans in many cases instead of flour, and people said they looked a little different. I told them to shut their eyes. Shut your eyes and open your mouth. Man, they taste great. So I think a good opening to talking about prosperity and supply and wealth is to ask some of you just impromptu who learned or relearned something from going through this storm, because that's our common thing right now. We all had this storm this week, out of the blue, I'd say, but who learned or relearned something? Yeah, don't wait on me to call on you.
We are still without power and water, and yeah, for me, it was just that I think of all the people in Panama City and the Panhandle who not only are they without water and electricity, but without their homes, their jobs. That's right. So it just it gives me more empathy, I believe.
More empathy. Mm-hmm.
For these people.
To be grateful and not take for granted. Yeah? Who else?
I saw that too. We're still out of power. And we took a drive around Wednesday after working for hours to try to clear our yard. And I noticed that neighbors were standing out on the street or in the yard talking to one another. Yes. Usually we're so busy with our machines and TV and computers that we don't do that. And they were helping each other out. It just kind of was a nice feeling.
It brings people.
We also got all our pecans from the squirrels.
And what's your name? Dot. That was Dot talking, and in the front here we had Jan for our new people. There'll be a quiz afterwards. So, okay, who else learned or relearned something?
Hey, this is Jenny, and I learned a new, stronger gratitude even.
Good.
I went driving because my phone was out, and so I was charging it, so I took a long ride, and when I came home, my neighbor had removed the 3 big limbs that had come down by my driveway and was busy picking up the trash.
Wow.
And
okay.
I thought, angels do live among us.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Great. Wow.
And then he went and got his generator that he had stored away, brought it back, turned it on, and within 2 hours we had power. So.
Mm-hmm. Who else? Somebody else started to say.
I think I got to look into the future for what technology is going to bring us ultimately, because all the radio stations in Panama City got their towers blown down.
Okay.
So what did they do? they called in some experts, and now they're broadcasting like crazy.
Okay.
all just through satellite.
So
And
satellite.
they're telling people where to go for gas.
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay. Thank you, Addie. And somebody up here?
We
That's
we
Rachel.
learned that, my name is Rachel.
Mhm.
We learned that living the more minimalistic lifestyle is better for our family.
Uh-huh.
I was actually sad when I saw our power come back
Mhm.
on, and it was because it brought us closer together. We had to basically forage, for those few days to, get things done, and noticing the community that we were
Okay.
actually being a part of.
Mhm.
So opening our eyes to the way we would prefer to live is what changed for us during that storm.
Thank you. That's excellent. Anyone who hadn't had a chance that wants to?
I'd like to say something.
Yes,
This is
Karen.
Yeah. I learned that, or relearned, I think, that we are our brother's keepers
Yeah.
because our neighbors just came together and just helped, and we
Mhm.
were able to help others, and it's, it just brings people closer together. Disaster, it's
Exactly.
unfortunate, but disaster brings people closer together.
It does.
So
Mhm.
I learned to be grateful, to be really grateful.
Good. Perfect. You guys, I'll send your checks afterward. You did a good job. But, that's exactly what I thought would segue well into this. And if you like this sharing that we just did, come to the Wednesday night class, The Soul of Money, because it's an excellent discussion. And I actually have to confess, I was thrilled the power came on, but I was also a little sad because it was great to have windows open. The house was quieter, and it brings out something very different in how people just do things differently. Although I love having the power on. I'm not meaning to be ungrateful either. But this reminds me of a man who influenced me tremendously years ago named Morris Massey. Morris Massey did some videos. I don't know if he wrote anything, but he did a video called Who You Are Is Where You Were When. And I think that's the name of it. There's a lot of...
I saw that.
That's
Huh.
right. That's right.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yep. Who you are is where you were when. And he says that we form our values by the decade we're in when we're age 10, and that the only way, the major way we change our values is by enough significant emotional experiences. Now, what is enough? That will change from person to person. I guarantee that for many people, this storm is a significant emotional experience. It will change lives, change values by the nature of the significance that is felt. Some people have many significant experiences, but not enough for it to be a significant emotional experiences to bring about change. But for some people it's many, for some people it's one. And when we have enough or the right number of significant emotional experiences, then we can respond differently than we may have learned initially to respond by the decade we're in when we're age 10. And so I heard one lady the other day saying, oh, well, my whole house gets redone after this storm. People are looking at ways to be grateful. But also, like you said, Rachel, learning that less is more in a number of ways, and ways that people, like Karen said, are coming closer, and many of you said, closer from going through a disaster, a challenge. It's sad that it would take that. But sometimes I think it's whatever it is that interrupts the flow, interrupts the way things just go on and on and on. I've been studying this beyond quantum healing, and I'm convinced that we're all in trance much of the time. And we just kind of get used to going with what we do day after day and the way things are. And when something interrupts that flow, it causes us to look at other ways to do things. And really, I think we know, as we think about our supply is unlimited. Just like that song, I'm free, I am unlimited. Our supply is unlimited. And we are able to access it, but how do we access it? And I think that one of the ways we access it is as we go through a change that invites us to do it in a new way, to become even more grateful, to become even more innovative, to become even more helpful, and like you said, the ways of people coming out and giving. So it's interesting too, you know, we hear lots of reports about, oh, there's a shortage of money, you know, and oh, there's this recession or the time of this depression. But, you know, I have felt for many, many years, there's no shortage of money in the universe. There's no shortage of supply, and really we know, many of you just basically said too, that our supply is not just about money. By no means at all is it just about money. But when we think about the economy, it often reminds me of what's in style. What are the fads? What's in style? The clothes fads, they go in and out. And, you know, long skirts one day, short skirts, certain kinds of shoes, certain kinds of colors, you know, they're in and then they're out. And then I think of soup du jour. You know, the soup du jour says, oh, this is the soup that's available today on the menu. But does that mean that there's a shortage? Or that that tends to dictate us? That's what I mean kind of like by what is going on in vogue that keeps us into trance. You know, the news tells us this is the economy, this is what is in, you know, for us to eat and all that kind of stuff. But really, I remember being raised, I don't care what's in style. You're not wearing that. Or I don't care, this is what you're wearing, or this is what we're eating. So to not live by what we're told is very important in accessing our supply. So I often think of, you know, I like to play with words, and I think about source, and I came up with that source. I realized the word our is in source. Our shared oneness, we, all right in the center of source. So I thought, well, you know, source could be sacred our center. Sacred our center. And then, you know, a friend of mine and I have often been saying that source is sourcing through us. It's a verb. It's sourcing through us like our air, sourcing through us so that we breathe and we continue being. Yeah, I hear some of you taking a nice deep breath. And so if source is always continuing to source through us, then source is also resourcing through us. Resourcing. And so we talk about our resources. What are our resources? But what about the resourcing that's always going on through us, in us, through us, as us? Spirit is resourcing, source is resourcing through us, as us. So a couple of things that I want to share. There's a book called Love and Survival and the Healing Power of Intimacy by Dr. Dean Ornish. Now, some people think that the works that Dean Ornish did are just really boring, that he talked about boring ways to eat and about the heart and heart studies, but he really did this wonderful book about the healing power of intimacy. And he did participate with some people who did a lot of research about the importance of social support. And just like some of you said, a storm brings people out into a time where people are socially connecting with each other. It's great until everything goes back to so-called normal, and then we hope people don't just go back in and forget to support each other. But he found things like that there's a relationship with people who have blocked arteries and people who are blocked inside, people who are closed off to others, people who are not able to be intimate. And he talked about a Swami who said, and I don't remember the Swami's name, but the Swami who said, if you take the I off of ill and you put we in front of it, you have well. And he talked about, and actually has a lot of groups, or did have a lot of groups with people, to get people to open up more and to share vulnerability and to share more things that they were keeping as secrets, because a lot of people were keeping things they did wrong and just very afraid of sharing things they did wrong. Well, guess what? I've had more people say, I realized when I started really hearing the vulnerability that we all have in common, none of us is alone. None of us really has any big, deep, dark secrets. It's what we're telling ourselves about those things. So he helped people to be more forgiving. And you may notice that people who are open and who are giving are more forgiving. And people who are closed and blocked off and locked off are not so much for giving. They may be more against giving. People who are stingy, people who are tight, may not be flowing with that abundance. So Carolyn Mace, many of you know of Carolyn Mace, M-Y-S-S, a medical intuitive. She wrote lots of books, and she's a medical intuitive. She did a video that Miss Des and I used to watch, and I don't know where that video came from or what happened to it, but it's a theory that she came out with. Suppose that you started your day with a budget. You wake up and each day there's a new amount. Let's say it's $100 for the day. But it's not so much what you spend it on out there in the world. It's more of what you spend it on emotionally and energetically. So you get out of bed and, oh man, you trip on something. And then you have to deal with that. Well, that might cost you $5. And then you go into the kitchen and, oh gosh, spilled that coffee. Well, that's another couple bucks. And then somebody says something that, tells you something and you weren't expecting to hear it, or you hadn't had that cup of coffee yet or something, and you kind of went, oh man, I didn't expect that. Puts you into a mood. Well, that emotional stress might cost you $10. And then, your car doesn't start right, and I don't know, I'm just, there's things, not even bad things, but things that take our time and energy, and they cost us in different ways as we go through our day. And then what happens if we run out of, or we put more of that money into obsessing over, worrying about, being afraid of, oh man, what's that piece of mail that came? I wasn't expecting any piece of mail to get special delivered at this hour. Wonder what that is. Oh, hope that isn't a bill or something. That costs. Those worries cost. Somebody very spiritual the other day said, oh, I tend to worry. Well, you know what? That happens, and it costs. Probably one of the worst stressors of all. So what happens when we blow that $100 before our day is out? It takes from the body. It goes and takes from us in our physical health. So it's very important that we deal with things as we're able to deal with them, and we think of, what's this costing me? What's this costing me to listen to this gossip or this drama? What's this costing me to put up with a relationship that's toxic, or any number of those kinds of things? So we have a lot of language that is commonplace for dealing with our attitudes about our prosperity and our supply. I feel spent. Really? What's that costing? I feel spent. And people will say, I am broke. Broke? Or broken? I don't have enough. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have time. I don't have time to spend. Time is a currency. I don't want to buy into that. I'm not buying that somebody said. I'm not buying that. They're going to pay for that lesson. That choice will cost you. All these money, all these abundance and prosperity phrases. And what are you paying attention to? So things that we just kind of sometimes go along with, and we don't always think about what we might be paying or spending or what we're really saying. Self-worth. A lot of our language about our supply and our abundance is all around our self-worth, and it has to do with that old ego. So I think giving more thought to and catching ourselves when we're saying things like, oh, well, I don't want to ask for that. If we focus more on what we don't want, we're drawing it to us. We need to focus more on what we do want and what we choose, and ask those angels, just like Ginny, when you said, I know there are angels, and they will be there. Ask the angels of the people that you're even frustrated with. Talk to their angels. Hey, can you help me do anything about this situation? So we can use and look at our language, look at the messages that we're giving, and let's also think of, since money is such a big topic for us in terms of economy, let's think of our money as something that we have a relationship with. What if it is one of our significant others? What messages is your money getting from you? Do you just shove it back in your wallet? Or do you take it out and feel frustrated like, man, I wish I didn't have to spend this? Do you give thanks for it? Do you complain about it? Think about the money that is alive. It's living. It is part of substance. It is substance in action. And also know that what we really need to focus on is the richness that we have on many levels that you all spoke of, and also the richness of ideas, which is one reason I asked you about change, because it gives us ideas of other ways to handle things, other ways to do things. Gratitude, many of you said, I am so grateful. Enthusiasm, entheos, with God, enthusiasm. It's one thing to go through, well, let me say I'm grateful because I should be grateful, but no, to really feel that overflowing feeling of gratitude. And also interest. We talk about interest in what's the interest rate, but also our interest that we give to what it is we're talking about. Are we interested in what we're doing? Are we interested in the people who are talking with us? And what kind of interest are we actively giving to the things, the people, the way that we experience our substance? Are we giving it our interest? Are we giving them our interest? So we also can know that we have lots and lots of currencies, as I mentioned, about our time and our energy. And I mentioned last week I was talking about wonderment, and I was telling you that I get full of wonderment. So I was telling Des, I was talking about another title for this, and I was thinking of calling it, I'm full of it. And it, what is it? Des said, well, what is it? It could be I am that. I'm full of I am that, because I'm full of everything everywhere. So are we all. We're all full of it. And it could also be in this now, as Jeff was singing about now. I'm full of in this now. I'm full of in this now. Yeah. Isn't it interesting that God, our coins, does it just our penny or all our coins that say in God we trust? All our coins? I love that. I hope they never take that off. And there was one place, I was thinking about that word trust. There was one place that somebody asked Myrtle Fillmore, please pray that our money holds out. And she said, we pray that our faith holds out. And I pray that our trust, I like trust even more than faith. So put love in the bank, put appreciation in the bank, and know that we are enough right here and now. We didn't know we were going to go through this a week ago, but here we are. We are all here today, all here now. We are vibrant, and we are full of it, full of in this now. So let's say our affirmation, and then I have a little song I'm going to teach us. And our affirmation, I believe it's on the wall. I give and receive from the one infinite source of life, love, and abundance. I am an open channel for good. And so it is. All right. This is a little Priscilla Herdman song. It comes from an album called Star Dreamer. And it's actually an album of little lullabies for kids. And in the album, when you hear it, it's a cappella, but you hear a rocking chair. I was thinking, Marvin, maybe you have a rocking chair. You can a sound of a rocking chair. You can give us rah, 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 rah. But as I start to teach you this song, I think you'll pick it up. And if we want, we'll go through it a second time just so that we can get up to speed. Des or Jackie, you got it up there?
Yes, I can, yeah.
You, okay. Well, here we go.
You might have to move over a bit because they.
To this way or the other way? This way?
Yes.
Okay.
That's good.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the sun in the sky. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the clouds so high. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the whispering wind. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the birds in spring. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the moonlit night. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the stars so bright. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the wonder in me. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the way I feel. Thanks for the animals. Thanks for the land. Thanks for the people everywhere. Thanks a lot. Thanks for all I've got. Thanks for all I've got. And we do give thanks, gracious Spirit. We know that you are in us, through us, expressing, waiting to be, pouring forth through us as us. We give thanks for being entrusted with the opportunity to be ambassadors in the world, with the opportunities to reach out. We know that as we give, we receive abundantly. We give thanks for all the ways that you are sourcing and resourcing through us. And so it is. Amen.